Okay guys, I'm going to go over the homework for graphing stories and situations. So remember to pause the video at any point and see if you can figure it out without my help, and then you can always replay the video as much as you need to get the explanation, okay? So let's look at number one. It says Alvin is traveling on the highway. So it's always good to take a look at what the axes are measuring. So like for example, the x-axis is measuring time. So imagine like this is 0 if it helps you to write 0. So this is 0, maybe minutes. They don't tell us minutes or seconds, but it's good enough. So then it increases in time and time and time. And here, 0 speed means the car is stopped, right? And then increasing speed goes up and up and up. So this one says Alvin is already traveling, which means his speed would not be at 0. So it's not C, because that means he was already like stopped. So this makes more sense. He's starting higher up, and then he pulls over, stops. So if he's pulling over, he's got to slow down a little bit. So this one, I think it's not B. No, it could be B. Well, let's see. It pulls over, so he's slowing down. He pulls over again, or he's like still pulling over, slowing down. Then he stops. Now this one makes sense about stopping because the speed is at 0 now. Here there's no stopping at all, so this one, it can't be this one. Okay, then accelerate, so he's going faster. The speed is increasing pretty quickly as he gets back on the highway. So B seems to make the most sense. I almost thought it was A because he's pulling over, but it doesn't ever show him stopping and then speeding back up, so B would make the most sense here. Okay? This one, Simon slows down, which means he's already going at a certain speed. Now if you had to choose between the A and C, you would choose the A because he's already at a speed, but let's see. He slows down, okay, he's slowing down here, the speed's going lower as he leaves the main road. He continues to slow down as he turns onto other streets, so it's probably even slower, and then eventually stops in front of his home. So this is a stopping point because the speed is 0 now. So A makes sense. And then by process of elimination, C is going to be the next answer, but why? Theodore's car won't start at first, so that means he's at speed 0. That makes sense. But it eventually starts, his car builds up speed, so it's building up speed until it reaches the speed limit. So now this is not meaning it's stopping, it's just keeping a constant speed up here. So maybe this is, if we were to imagine this is 10, 20, 30, 40 miles per hour, he's keeping a constant speed at 40. So if that helps you to like make up your own numbers to kind of get an idea of what's going on, feel free to do that. Okay, so the answer is C. Okay, now this one might be a little bit more difficult for some of you because not everyone knows what baseball is. Not everyone knows what a double hit is. Okay, so here's home base, here's first and second and third base, okay? Now if someone hits a double, what that means is they are able to go from first base and second base. Okay, they're able to get to 2 bases, okay, without stopping. So if you notice here time, and then on the y-axis it says distance from home plate, right? So you can see that first base is pretty close to home base, and then if you go to second base, it's a little bit farther. So if he's playing, let's say he goes away from, he's like maybe here, he's at first base, but then he stays a while, and then he moves again, maybe to second base. But here, if you hit a double, you don't stay at first base, you got to get to second base. So let's see here, he's going to first base, okay, and then he goes a little bit further to second base. Okay, so here's first base, second base, and then it says and was left on base, so he stays there. All right, he did not move the rest of the inning. Now over here, if he were to like go to first base, then he goes to second base, but then he's coming back, he's going to third base actually, okay, and then he comes back home. So he never stops. All right, so it can't be F. So the best answer between these 3 is E. Okay, he hits a double means he goes to first and then second, and then he stays there. Costello was playing baseball and hit a single, which means he only makes it to first base. After a few batters, he was thrown out at trying to steal second base. So what makes the most sense here is that he hits a single, he gets to first base, he stays there a while, he tries to get to second base, okay, trying to steal second base, and then he's done. Now here, why wouldn't it be F? Because he goes to first, then he goes to second, but then and then he goes back. Now here it doesn't mean he goes back to second, it means his distance is now at third base, okay, which is the same distance as 1, and then he's back home. So that doesn't fit this scenario, so we're going to give this one a D. Babe Ruth was playing and hit a home run. That means he goes first, second, third, and back home. Now that makes sense here. He goes to first, he's farthest away at second, he's the same distance at third as he was at first, and then he's home. Okay, so F makes the most sense. Now, like I said, if I went too quickly through the explanation, then go back and rewind it and see if you can re-guess what these were without, maybe come back later and don't memorize the letters, come back and then see if you can try it again. Alright, now let's go to the next one. I would strongly advise you to pause the video at this point and see if you can figure it out. Just pay attention to the time, the distance from home, and don't feel like you have to go as fast as I do, okay? It is meant to take time. I already know what the problems are asking, so I can walk you through it. However, I would strongly suggest that you take some time, maybe a good 3-4 minutes, read through the problem, and then see which one matches. And then go through and do 7, 8, and 9, since they're all about the same 3 graphs, and then check your answer, okay? So again, I would strongly suggest that you pause the video here and see if you can figure it out on your own. So a guy named Larry was walking to school, so he's already walking, alright? When he remembered, he forgot his lunch. So he ran home to get it and ran back to school. Okay, so here he's staying at home, so he hasn't been walking away from school or walking away from home. So it's going to either be G or I. He remembered he forgot his lunch. So now if this was, and then he ran home to get it. So this one doesn't make sense because this shows that he paused. He stayed at the distance for a good period of time before he went back home. Whereas here, he goes a certain distance, he remembered he forgot his lunch, he goes back home, and then he runs back to school, and then he stays the rest of the day. So I makes the most sense. Okay. Guy named Mo overslept for school. When he woke up, so overslept means he hasn't even gone to school yet. That makes this one makes the most sense because time has begun. He's still at home. When he woke up, he walked to school. Okay, he walked to school, but when he got there, the door was locked. Mo quickly decided to leave the school and walked home, and he took a nap. This makes the most sense here. Okay, so H. And then by process of elimination, it's G but Y. Curly ran to school. Okay, this looks like he ran, and then it looks like he stayed there. Okay, later he ran home later. So this is key here. Later, which means I guess some time has passed. He ran home, and then he stayed there for a little bit, ate lunch. After lunch, he ran back to school, and then he stayed there the rest of the day. So G. All right. The next one, again, pause the video and see if you can figure it out on your own. This one has time and then temperature. So Bob was getting cold outside and decided to start a campfire. All right, so to warm up. So maybe, and then when Bob was done, he poured a bucket of water on the fire to put it out. So it was getting cold. It said it's getting cold, so it's going down. And then gradually the campfire warmed things up. And then at some point it cooled down very quickly because he put water on it. Or, yeah, bucket of water. So K. Okay, Patrick took a marshmallow out of the kitchen and walked outside to roast it on the campfire. So, out of the kitchen and walked outside to roast it on the campfire. Then Patrick let it cool after a while and ate it. So, let's see. He took a marshmallow out of the kitchen, walked outside to roast it, so he's roasting it. And then Patrick let it cool off. Here, something's already cooling off and then heating back up. So that doesn't fit the marshmallow scenario, so we're going to put J here. Sandy went swimming in the lake but got colder and colder. Then Sandy decided to warm up by sitting up. Yeah, so colder and colder, warming up. So L makes sense. I like this last one. Again, try it on your own first. Okay, I like if you double check that these are darkened. Okay, and this is talking about cash this time, over time. All right, and then this one starts here, goes down, and then goes up a little bit. Eric had $100 in his piggy bank. So here, there's still cash. Here, there's no cash. So this one makes the most sense. So let's say we put 100 here. When he decided to buy 5 pieces of pie for $50, so that means it drops, which makes sense. It's about halfway, 50. And then at the end of the week, so give him some time, his mom gave him some $25, and so it went up. It makes sense. So 13 would be O. That makes the most sense. Okay? And then Kenny did not have any money. He found, okay, so that would be a scenario for both of these. He found a $20 bill, while walking to school. He took it home and hid it under his bed for weeks. So that means he didn't gain money, he didn't lose money. That makes the most sense here. It just keeps on staying 20. So M would make sense. Let's see if N makes sense for Kyle. Kyle did not have any money, true. For the next 3 weeks, so let's say 1, 2, 3, Kyle received a $20 allowance each week and did not spend the money, so he keeps on adding 20, adding 20, adding 20. Okay, so N makes the most sense. And so like I said, guys, I would suggest that if you had to follow with me every step of the way, then I would suggest that you cover up these answers and see if you can try it again. Come back after like 5-10 minutes and see if you can figure out the answers. Okay? Alright, this is the end of the video.